Welcome to the Free Play Arcade podcast of Last Christmas 2, Part 2.
We are live
of our End of the World. Yeah, live.
No matter when you're watching it, we're still live.
Right. Well, we're not alive because the world ended at the end of this party.
Right, 2 a.m., we're dead. This is our last will and testament we're leaving to the people that survive.
Once again, the last Christmas party. Once again, have to start on a sour note. Longtime sponsor, Just Water. Jaden Smith was supposed to be in the building with us celebrating Last Christmas 2. He went to the Last Christmas 2 party in Sydney, Australia. Could not make it out of the airport.
I did send him, a car to the airport.
Well, he could not make it before Armageddon actually hit because they're a little bit before us in the time zones.
I just realized, interesting fact. Here, introduce Kelsie really quick.
Well, also, I wanted to say that Mr. Brown, our other longtime sponsor, wanted to go ahead and send their condolences to the Smith family over their loss. So, joining us now, Corey, as always.
Hello.
Me, Chris Delp, Community Liaison, Free Play, Richardson, Arlington, Denton. Also, Kelsie, for the first time not reviewing a terrible, wonderful movie. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
What is HR? We all have like 17 different titles.
She's the
and or
corporate
jobs.
liaison. So her job is really to make corporate not terrible and make sure that the employees have an access to corporate. So she does HR stuff. She does payroll. She does stuff like that.
Right.
She does legal. She's about to be the GC at the New Year. She also happens to be an attorney. But the reason I wanted her to be introduced is so I could address her by Kelsie and say, hey, Kelsie, do you know why we're talking about Jaden Smith right now?
He owns Just Water, right?
Oh, I didn't know.
Yes, I did know that.
Well, everyone knows that,
I got the Just Water. I'm the one that ordered that.
Right. You call Jaden Smith's personal cell phone and you say, hey, I need a pallet of Just Water. And
we are friends.
He's like, oh, yeah. I'm more friends with his dad, but it's, it's a good relationship, I think.
Yeah, they were not able, so far, they have not taken me up on our offer of a free pass into the Last Christmas 2 party.
Did you tell him that we have Pogs at this party and he still didn't show?
Yeah, well, I'm assuming they're in the morning.
It's a mix-up. You're right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so we're here to talk. We are live at Free Play Arlington.
That's what all the background noise is about. Hopefully someone sets the record on Galaga again.
All right, so right now we've got lights being set up for the upcoming band Calling Jack Burden. Awesome. But we're here today to get really serious and talk to Kelsie. We're going to interview her properly. She's never had this experience. To talk about kind of what it's like being involved with Free Play from the very beginning and now kind of coming on as a job. So the very first question, Kelsie, is when your husband, we're actually married. We should probably go ahead and say that. Despite how I look, I did get an awesome, beautiful wife. And she's sitting here at the table. Kelsie is my wife. We both are.
Don't undersell your beard, sir.
That's true. Well, no one can really.
You cannot be on the Last Christmas podcast unless you are me or have a sweet, sweet beard.
Fair enough.
He didn't have the beard when I met him.
That's true.
Or married him.
I looked even douchier somehow. It's really bizarre. Kelsie, when your husband came to you and said he wanted to open up an arcade, what were your thoughts?
I don't know. It was kind of a gradual thing, actually. It started out with Corey bringing an arcade to our home and saying he was gonna, make it into, actually, at the time, and it's kind of funny now, one of those, multi-cades for our house. That was how it all started. And before I knew it, we had multiple ones in our garage. And then all of a sudden he bought this huge lot of games. And at some point he was like, I think we want to open an arcade. And the timing was really weird because he had semi-recently left his downtown attorney job. And we had started a law firm and it was going pretty well, actually. We were starting to ramp up the business. I loved working with my husband every day. But it was his dream.
Well, yeah, so that's kind of an interesting point for the podcast listeners. Around the same time we started to formulate the arcade, we started our law firm together. And if you probably don't know, but if you know anything about a law firm, it's actually a hard thing to build and to grow. And we had kind of started to turn it to the point that it was busy, wildly profitable, like all law firms should be. It was really becoming this awesome practice, and I immediately ruined it in order to start the arcade, which was much more risky at the time because we had actually figured out the law firm. It was starting to work, and I insisted on opening up an arcade. But you did bring up a topic that I think I've never touched on. My original interest in arcades was to put a Raspberry Pi into an arcade. and just have like a ton of games to play. And then I bought one, and that all kind of fell away. And I just remembered, I don't know if I've ever told the story about that lot that you're talking about. What actually happened is I was sitting there, not the big Kelly Ray lot. This is actually much smaller. I was sitting there in my downtown law office on the 25th floor or whatever, looking at it, and all of a sudden it started like icing and snowing outside. And I knew that there was this arcade auction coming up that I had kind of been interested in. And next thing I know...
Was this the great Super Bowl ice storm?
Yes, actually it was. The same time that...
AKA the last time we had a winter storm in Dallas.
Right. And it totally we got inches of snow and ice. It was this brutal, intense storm, and it actually fell right when there was an arcade auction ending. So I ended up buying something like 5 or 6 arcade games. Now remember, I have no storage. I have no plan for these. 5 or 6 arcade games, some big games. I think my total cost was like $200 total. I mean, and there's like Tekken 3 in there, lots of cool, good games. And I knew that was a great price. And that's where I kind of had to figure out, logistics of storing arcade games. That was it. That was the very first thing. And then, a few weeks later, I bought 150 games from Kelly Ray. So it was a very fast ramp up. All right, so
were you aware of the Kelly Ray buy before he bought it?
I went with him to look at them, and I looked at them, and I was like, oh.
So it's not like Corey just like showed up in the living room and was like, I got 150 arcade games. I helped him move those games out when he bought them. I had my best friend's little brother come out and move them, and we like fed him at a diner, and he helped move arcade games all day.
Yep.
Dropped one.
He did. He dropped. What did he drop? Kangaroo? I don't know.
I can't
Kangaroo's
remember.
always being dropped. So.
Oh, by the way, we did go over that entire Kelly Ray deal in a series of, I believe, 18 podcasts.
I think it was more like 32.
Yeah, you can find it up on in our video section of the YouTube page.
Okay, we don't have to rehash it. But what I would like to say about the arcade thing is it wasn't just one day Corey was like, let's shut down the law firm and open an arcade. It was like, let's open an arcade, and I remember he used this phrase, set it and forget it. Like, he thought he was going to be working at the arcade like 10 hours a week. We were going to be law firming the rest of the time and like spending lots of time with our kids, which we still kind of do, but it's really hard. And
now they play arcade games.
Yeah, so it didn't turn out like that at all. Like, first of all, I was pretty darn pregnant when...
With our second
child, when he decided to do this, and we started to do this, and at the time, like Richard, Corey, and I were together every single day, like doing stuff.
Richard, the COO of Free Play.
And
Richard
Kelsey's brother.
Is my brother, yes. Yeah. So we were together every day, and I was like, you know what? I had a tough time being pregnant last time, but I'm sure it won't be a big deal, and we'll just go do this arcade thing. And fast forward a couple months, and I'm like, I feel terrible every day, and I'm just like, I can't even leave the house. So Richard and Corey will stop by and feed me, or bring me food, and then they'll disappear for like 12 hours to go build this arcade, or maybe 24 hours or whatever. Yeah, paint walls. And I was really jealous at the time because I couldn't do any of that. My sister-in-law and her boyfriend were up there helping paint walls and stuff, and I was just at home watching really bad TV and just being like, being pregnant for me sucked. So I'm sure that was most of it,
But each time you do get pregnant, there's another business venture that opens.
Yeah, so
that's true.
We're not doing that anymore. It's a short story there. Not that our children are amazing, incidentally. Well, not that matters too much to you guys, but totally worth it. Just no more, okay?
So a couple side notes, though. Kelsie was generally, it took a lot of persuading on my part to get her to accept the location of the Richardson arcade. And the nice thing was it ended up being the only site that had sprinklers that was suitable. So it became easier over time. But when I first showed Kelsie that
just
site,
the laundromat,
the shell of the laundromat next to Chase Place and Sherwin-Williams, she was like, nope.
It wasn't the site itself. You know what really bothered me?
The parking lot?
Yes, the thing that bothers everyone. The parking lot is atrocious. It is still atrocious. It will be atrocious until the end of time, I think.
It's like a free play tradition, though.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's our big fun joke because, everyone complains about not having enough parking in Denton. Mm-hmm. But at Richardson, it's more like, here's more parking than you could ever want. They just don't have any lines, and it's like gravel. You're in the middle of suburban Richardson, but somehow you're in a gravel lot.
Right,
it's amazing.
You're lucky if it's gravel and
gravel
not
ride would be better.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a foot of gross water that you don't really know what's in there.
Here's what blows my mind. In that same parking lot where you could fall into a 3.5-foot hole, they play cricket at 2 a.m.
Well, I mean, it's...
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, we've talked about that previously, too, because during our build one time, all of a sudden, because they were playing it Saturday night at midnight. That was their agreement, to come midnight, on Saturdays and play until like 4 a.m. And
they'll still do it.
Yeah, and we were there building, and next thing we know, there are all these people out, like 120, 130 people in the parking lot playing cricket. So yeah, it was a really interesting, really cool thing. But yeah, she also hated the ceiling or the roof at Richardson, like which it's totally different now because
you redid the whole thing.
Yeah, we redid the entire thing, but she was like, it'll never look good. And I was like,
I just didn't think he'd ever spend like the money it would take to make it look good, because he also severely underestimated like the work and cost involved. Because he was like, no, we'll just do like a quick facelift and build a kitchen and that'll be it. But it took, of course, like all of our builds much longer and much more money than
in my
originally.
defense, we opened Richardson pretty efficiently.
But that is because like you were working around the clock and having like everybody we knew show up and like pitch in.
Also, you didn't have an existing arcade that you were still managing and all that. I do remember being a fan of the original like development blog that you posted on the Free Play. Well, whatever the website was at that time.
Yeah, that's it's kind of sad that I don't have time to do that stuff. Like I think about it all the time. How I wish I could.
That's what this podcast
right.
is.
The podcast kind of substitutes for that, so that we can long form talk about a lot of cool stuff without me having to, get really deep into writing pages.
Yeah, but you did get really deep into it. Yeah. Like I remember you telling or you writing about your blueprinting experience with it. Right. And just working at a blueprint shop, literally being, down the street from the perspective arcade, just thinking, man, I would not have charged you a cent. Like, please come here.
All right, so Kelsie, we're in Richardson. We're working 24 hours a day. It's crazy. You never see us except for when we bring you food. But what did you think? Like, what was your hope for the arcade? Like, once you said, yeah, let's do it, what were you really hoping that it did? Did you want it to become what it has, or were you hoping that it was kind of what we thought it might be, where it's open sometimes, people come, it pays the bills, but it doesn't explode like it did?
I don't know. I'm like not a count your chickens before they hatch sort of person. So once I said yes, like really early, it became apparent I was just like along for the ride, whatever happened. Like I had no ability to change what was going to happen. And ultimately, I wanted to make good decisions. I wanted to support Corey and Richard in doing what they were doing the right way. And so I just kind of, and the great thing about Corey is, and we've been together for almost 14 years now.
Something like that.
He's never really disappointed me. Like he does these different things, and if I trust him, they work out. So I wasn't gonna nitpick it.
It's true. My ventures are generally do what at least I say they're gonna do, and sometimes they're bigger. So good. That's awesome. It's really cool. But it's really funny to think about.
As
like,
we're at this page-long Last Christmas tea party.
We are here live in a arcade I never would have expected, and I never would have just dreamed that we'd have something like we have here at Free Play Arlington, where we're about to have the best '80s cover band ever, and Free Play obviously exploded. Kelsie, when was the first day that you came to the arcade that it was open? Because I was trying to work in my head. I don't think you were there.
No, I came for the opening, not the beta test, but I brought Sterling, our son, who was maybe 2 at the time. And I like put him in his little button up and everything, and we came to the arcade for the opening party. And I remember I didn't know anyone yet, but Chase was at the time there, and he saw me and he knew who I was, so he opened the door and let me in instead of making me wait in the cold line of lots of people.
I think y'all played games early for a little bit. We're only there for not that long while we were open, and then left, right?
I can't remember, honestly.
Something like that.
I was so pregnant, and you just don't even remember things from when you're that pregnant. It's just like a blur.
What's really great is that... Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm distracted by something that's on the TV, but...
it's probably in the background.
It's a terrible Justin Wong Arcade 1-Up commercial. Yes. So anyways, but I remember that opening day, I didn't see very much because, of course, someone had put something down one of the drain pipes, and we had a huge flood out the back. While we have like our VIP grand opening party trying to happen in the front, I'm screaming at like the plumbers. We're like, I mean, we eventually worked it all out. It was really cool, but that was still how crazy it was. I don't even remember, like, I wasn't even sure you were there.
Nice.
Well, it's crazy to think about. Like, now, of course, I know all the events you go to, and it's always really fun having you. And, of course, you're a full-time employee of Free Play now, too. Which I don't think either one of us could have ever anticipated.
Expected. That's true.
So
it is super nice working for a team of lawyers.
Right.
Actually.
Well, that was...
it's helpful, for sure.
It's really helpful.
It's always good at being able to hire an attorney. we are definitely, I mean, probably the most over-lawyered small arcade chain in the nation.
In the history of arcades, yes. Yes. It's a fantastic advantage.
So I'm trying to remember the timeline. All right, so we opened Richardson, and things are good. It's a good success. I'm still working around the clock because, I mean, that first month I worked as a bartender, I worked as a chef, I was the game tech, everything at all times.
Well, I remember. I mean, it's funny now because we have like 5 or 6 bartenders like coming through
location.
Richards at the different locations, but at the time it was just Mike, Chase, Richard, and Corey, and that was it.
Right.
And Richard and Corey were also doing other stuff. So like,
and Mike and
very
Chase,
small staff.
Mike and Chase both started part-time because they had to keep their other jobs because they weren't sure if this crazy thing was going to work. Fortunately, very shortly thereafter, they all went full-time. But yeah, Richard and I were the only full-time bartenders, the only full-time kitchen staff, the only full-time. No, Josh was also a tech. So
That's right.
And so yeah, I remember one day having someone come through. One of the interviews we were doing for one of the papers, and they're like, "So what's your job?" I was like, I try to back up everything, and they were like, "All right." So I just write down back up everything. I was like, "That's a pretty good description of what I'm doing right now. I back up everything."
I remember messaging you an issue with just a random pinball machine. I don't know what it was on a Saturday night, and it was like during the second month of free play. I send you a message, basically like a comment card like we have now, where you just put a comment of an issue on a card, and then like 14 seconds later you come flying out of the back and immediately fix it. That was back in those original days, just seeing you everywhere.
Well,
see, you saw him everywhere, and I saw him nowhere.
Yeah, I don't even remember when we met, Kelsie.
Whoa.
I don't remember when we met, but I remember the second time we met when I thought it was the first time we met. And Corey was like, "Oh, you're such a jerk. You totally already met him." And that was the city council hearing that you went to, the second one, not the first one before he opened.
Right.
But I had taken Sterling to the library, and we walked over and met you, and Corey was like, "You totally already met him."
If it's all fair, like I was always distracted by Sterling. There was a cute kid there, so.
So, okay, we get through Richardson. When did you start working part-time for free play? Was it pretty late? Or I'm trying to remember.
It was late. Y'all opened, had a baby.
Right.
Did that whole thing.
Oh, that's true.
That's
pretty
was home with the baby
time-consuming,
for a really long
yeah.
time. And she started preschool
Well, and you were still trying to keep the law firm going, kind of.
Yeah, I was trying to keep the law firm going.
Well, and
that was really hard.
Well, what most people don't know too is I was working cases for like a year and a half, not frequently, but
right.
I had some cases that just would not die for a long time after that. So we were both kind of working part time. You had we had an infant, we had the arcade, and then we were both trying to kind of settle up our clients at the law firm, and which I think you're close to finally right now.
One outstanding case.
3 years after we opened Richardson, you're almost done with your clients, which is kind of how it works as an attorney, which is, good business when you're an attorney because you get a client and it'll last for years. But when you're trying to slowly wind it down, it's a lot of work.
It's really hard. I've had to tell people no, and I don't like telling people no. But I prefer to work for free play, honestly. It's a lot more fun, a lot less stressful. Yeah.
How much goes into staying with your law, not the law practices as far as like your clients, but staying up on new laws and stuff? Do you have to go back to that?
Kelsie and I have to do 18 hours a year?
Isn't it? I thought it was 15.
15 plus 3, I thought. But 3 are self-study.
Okay, sure, whatever.
Of law school,
continuing
yes,
legal education.
CLEs.
Okay.
But that aside, if you're working on a case, you have all sorts of ethical obligations. You better learn what you're talking about.
Oh, for sure.
So sometimes a case will come in and it won't be something that you've totally done before, and you have to learn new things, and that's very time consuming. But ideally, you're an expert after having handled it once.
Yeah, the truth is, I think for both of us, if we try to get back to full time, it would probably take quite a long time to really get our feet back on the ground, understand exactly what's changed in terms of the rules of civil procedure and stuff like that.
And that's why it's hard to be a part-time lawyer, which is what I've been doing for years now. But things change all the time, and if it doesn't come up in your practice, and if you're only handling a few cases at the time, it's not coming up that much. And all of a sudden, you're like, "Oh my goodness, they changed this law 2 years ago. I had no idea. I'm so glad I figured that out."
And of course, 80% of being an attorney is knowing more than the other side website and telling them about it all the time through legal filings.
Well, not only that, but like being in your office, so when your phone rings, you're there.
Right.
You're psyching out the other side by being totally on top of it, and it's really hard to be on top of it when you're like really mostly home with your kid or working at Free Play all the time and stuff like that.
I think about like I still had some pretty high level clients when we first opened Free Play, and I'd sit there and it'd be like 2 a.m. and I'm mopping the arcade, only to wake up early and respond to an email that came in that was an emergency legal matter that was high level, and I'm just like. And that was probably one of the first times where I realized, like, Free Play's working. I need to make sure that I kind of push the legal work aside as much as I can.
And it takes a lot of work because when somebody finds somebody that's doing a good job as an attorney, obviously they want to lean on them whenever they have stuff. And I just remember we had one particular client that Corey had to keep saying, like, no, I can't do this anymore. And they'd be like, yeah, we totally understand. But then the next day there'd be another email about it. And he'd be like, I'm so sorry. I already told you I totally can't. Let me direct you elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then the next day it would come back and everything. And that was hard.
All right. So what was your thought process when I came to you and I said I wanted to open up a second arcade? Because like I feel like that was the
So that's the timeline. I wasn't working here before Arlington.
Right.
I don't know. It happened, so I guess I said yes. But like kind of like being pregnant the first time and it not being so awesome, and then thinking it would be different the next time. It was like the same thing with opening arcades.
So
it was very time consuming.
It was very
Corey,
different too, right?
Well, it was very far away. So like the Richardson location is like 7 minutes away from our house, maybe 10 in terrible traffic. But Arlington is like, I don't even know, in terrible
40
traffic.
to an hour depending on
Yeah,
traffic.
I mean maybe an hour and a half in traffic and stuff like that. So that like tacked on to everything. And we were super fortunate that Orlando, who worked in the Richardson location, was out here. Like he would be out here to meet the contractors and stuff like that. So Richard and Corey didn't have to be here at like 6 a.m. in the morning.
And Orlando, of course, was hired to work here.
Right.
He was hired at Richardson to work in Arlington.
Oh, was he? I didn't know.
Yeah. And he started. So Arlington got delayed because of the things that always delay everything. But I remember getting introduced to him as the future tech of Free Play Arlington.
Yeah.
And thinking, oh, that's cool. I'll get to talk to this guy two times, and then he'll be off to a place that I could never, ever take the bus to.
Right.
And here we are.
Yeah, well, but he spent about, 3-4 months working at Free Play Richardson, being a mainstay there. So I got to know him quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, at the end, I was just like, no, he can't go. No, he has to stay here.
Well, yeah, that was.
Well, I knew him well too. I started coming around and having lunch then.
Yeah.
I started having part-time childcare for Zoe, so I popped by.
Yeah,
I remember. Orlando made a favorable impression on me with his excellent manners.
Oh, right. Well, and I mean, how the mighty have fallen. No, I'm just kidding.
I was just interrupting podcasts over and over again.
No,
his incessant news about safes and all kinds of
he's just really excited
issues.
about Pogs right now. Orlando, I think he ended up working probably. We thought he'd be there for like 2 months. He ended up working almost 6, I think, and then was out here most days, helping us contact or be with the contractors and kind of be our point man on that. And of course, Arlington was delayed about 6 months. No, I guess about 4 months, but it felt like a year.
It was really hard as it got delayed. It was really stressful for everyone, but Corey especially. I definitely remember like Wednesdays used to be family day. I definitely remember a family day where like there's we expect to be able to open, and Corey gets some like a flurry of text messages, and it turns out, no, we're not going to open. They want to put in like a whole new sprinkler system that they've never mentioned before, and all of this stuff, and it just like the whole thing explodes, and our life explodes. And I have to say, at the very end of the whole Arlington thing, our lives were totally hanging by a thread. Like we had 2 small children. Corey was gone all the time. Richard was gone all the time. I was trying to like handle the children. Like I had kind of the typical, I think, thing that happens sometimes to moms who are home with their kids all day. I was bored. I was lonely. I love my kids, but like I was like, for the love, somebody come like hang out with me at least while I'm doing all of this. And it was just really getting tense.
Well, and what's really nice is we faced no adversity right at the end of the build of Arlington.
Of course not.
Everything worked out great. No, so as we've mentioned before on the podcast, you can't really notice it now as much.
Yeah, you were injured.
I was assaulted here at Free Play Arlington, like right over there.
The day of the first beta test. So like it was seriously like Corey was like, I'm gonna go do this, and then I'm just gonna take a little time and we'll like hang out and like do family time, and everything's gonna start being better from now on. But instead what happened is his father calls me and says, hey, I always remember this too about his dad. He's like, I just wanted you to hear it from me first, although I have no information whatsoever, but I'm taking Corey to the hospital.
Right.
I mean,
so yeah,
I know you can't like talk about it like in super specific terms because legal cases and pending
Still
and all
going,
that stuff,
yeah.
but it deserves to be said that it was not a random like act. It's not like people are getting assaulted at Free Play Arlington all the time.
It's true.
It was a business related
severe
silliness.
injury
Yeah.
too. Like it was not a small thing.
It was a bizarre, disgruntled business owner here in Arlington that came upset about some nonsense that didn't matter at all.
Right, but not random.
Yeah, not random. And then, next thing I know, I've been, sucker punched and I have a broken jaw, multiple fractures in my jaw, bone sticking into my mouth. Terrible injury that took a while to get back from.
It was terrible, and I definitely recall like expecting Corey to come home, but instead being at the hospital in Plano and walking in right as the surgeon's like, and so that's going to be like permanent damage. You're never going to feel there again.
Yeah.
And I like leaned over and almost puked because that was so horrible.
Kelsie really did. You walk right in. As
I was just like, what is happening to our lives? And it's funny now because like you can almost forget about it because it's been such a long time. It seems like.
It's one of those things too that if you don't approach it with like a little it's totally bizarre that happens.
Let's all appreciate the sponsor tag on M Bison's shirt right now for Street Fighter 5.
Arcade 1-Up? Is that what we're doing?
I'm not sure what the sponsor is, but now they have included in-game advertising on our favorite console fighter, Street Fighter 5. That's awesome.
Our producer just informed me that if you go watch the YouTube video that has our channel trailer, parts of it involve me like being present, but with my jaw wired shut.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see
you
that.
Had your beard, your yarn beard.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So because like one of the things I never talked about is I think I actually have talked about it now that because I love the story. They were like, we're gonna have to shave your beard, and the whole time I was like, there has to be another way. There has to be something else. And so finally, they've done like the whatever put you asleep drugs for the surgery. And just in this, and I hadn't mentioned it, but my beard was still there. And I was like, I'm going to keep the beard. They're not even going to notice. And just then the surgeon says, oh, they forgot to shave you. As I'm passing out, as I'm falling asleep from these heavy narcotics, I see the surgeon turn on an electric razor and start going into my beard. And that's the last thing I remember. And then I woke up, and the first thing I did was I touched my face, and I was like, oh, no. And then I realized my jaw was wired shut. I was, totally like incapacitated in a room full of like recovering surgery people. And I was just like screaming that my beard was gone. It was terrible.
And my recollection was it was the day before the big Super Turbo tournament. And I remember I had talked to you literally the day before the incident had occurred because you were hosting. I want to say it was the Mario Brothers tournament.
Yeah,
and it was a blast.
Yeah.
And I just wanted like you to be in the building for it. It was really frustrating.
Well, yeah.
For even someone who wasn't you.
We were because we did that podcast where we kind of looked back at the spring series, and I couldn't remember what had happened during the second Super Turbo tournament, and it was because I wasn't there. Yeah. I was like, "What is going on? I don't have any memories about this. I wasn't there. I was recovering from surgery. Everything was rough." All right, so we opened Arlington about a month after. I mean, the crazy thing is, I had to be back at work pretty fast. It wasn't good. But
that actually, I think, is when I started being around because I started carting you around so you could get places, but I could also take you home.
Right. Well, yeah. As you might imagine, they had me on some pretty severe like narcotics and stuff, and I was like, but I have to get back to work. It was terrible. It was really hard. But so Kelsie was driving me around. Everyone was driving me around. And then, that was kind of the start. I think not long thereafter, we offered you like a part-time job at Free Play.
This is what happened. Like, you were stretching it. Like, you were gone longer and longer. Like, you would constantly be like, I'll be home, but like, it'd always be a little longer than that. And you'd be at home and you'd be like on Facebook or responding to text messages. And it was like invading every portion of our life. And it was not working for me.
I'm a bad influence in that manner because like, I will stay till the end till they shut the power off on me, and whenever that is, like, he owns the place. So me and him can just hang out at Arlington playing games until
and that's
whenever.
Cool. And to a certain extent, that's awesome. But I was also like, our children are tiny. You are missing it. You know, like,
it's true. It's true. No one really talks about like when you're involved in like this quickly fast-growing business that's a success, and you want to make sure that you're a part of this huge success and the growth. that it eats 24 hours a day, and it's still
in
a
5
problem.
minutes turns into an hour
Right.
to 2 hours or whatever. And I have to say, because I don't want it to sound like Corey's a super active dad. Like, he's super awesome. He coached our son's soccer team, which was amazing considering the responsibilities here and everything. Like, he cooks at our house, he gives baths, he does the whole thing. Like, he's a modern dad. Like,
Chicken pesto paninis every night.
oh,
That'd be nice,
I would
actually.
eat that.
Yeah,
Our
that
kids
sounds
would
good.
like that, but,
We had one the other night, and we were both like,
it was
this is
really good.
Yeah.
It was. But it crept into everything, and I was like, what if, or I don't know that it was my idea or whatever, but he was stressing out about payroll.
No,
that was the biggest
I pitched
thorn
it to
in his
you
side.
as because there was some relatively payroll's not necessarily high level, but it's it has to be right. And I was really protective of it because I wanted to make sure that every employee received their paycheck, it was the right amount, and we have bartenders, we've got all these different positions with different tip shares, all sorts of stuff. So I needed someone that I would feel really comfortable giving it to, and the first person I thought of was you. So yeah, I went to you and I said I think we have enough work that I could really use just someone to take some stuff off my plate. And that was the original pitch, which I remember Kelsie was going to start. She worked 20 hours a week or something.
And sometimes even less. I would run out of work to do, and I'd be like, so
right,
I'm going to just go.
She would get mad at me because I didn't have enough work for her. Now, of course, she works 50 or so hours a week, and we have unlimited work for her.
There's unlimited work. Yesterday,
yes,
I'm rushing. I'm at my son because he comes after school sometimes, and I have him writing stuff on stuff, and I'm like, Sterling, help mama out so we can get out of here and do stuff. And there's no end to the work.
I suspect having dropped the legal game, you still have that level of work, just because I can totally relate to just being yelled at from every side about how little work you're doing, and you're just like, whoa, you guys need to talk to each other.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So now Kelsie does payroll. She does most of the legal stuff, our contracts for different, our Arcade Anywhere project, that kind of stuff. Each location has to have its own contract. She handles a lot of the insurance work.
All the cash.
Yeah, well, she handles all the cash, which is a big, huge endeavor because you have to, make sure that we have cash drawers ready for all of our locations to open every single day. And no one really thinks about how much of a hassle that is. It's not fun. It's a totally mind-numbing, boring job.
Oh, it's the worst. It was fun for all of 5 minutes,
right.
And now it's a huge burden. But it has to be done.
And your HR. So anytime I get intricate customer relations that I have no idea how to address this, I'm coming to you. So whenever somebody comes to me with their really weirdly distressing problem, you get to hear about it the next day.
Yes, I do.
Well, it's true.
Yeah,
And
it's a lot.
Kelsie had to deal with, we had a couple just kind of irritating turnover HR issues at the very beginning when she came in, and that was pretty much her that was the big
drone flyby on the podcast.
Oh yeah, I think he's about to set it up. I don't know what he's about to do. This is about to get dangerous. So the producer's over there messing around with his drone. We are inside right now. As a business owner, I'm a little concerned, but also really excited to see.
I'm excited. I love drones.
As a lawyer, you're even more concerned.
I really hope he does a slow-mo drive-by of the POG as a slammer's going down and the drone crashes into our blast city over there. That looks amazing.
It's been over a year since we had our last drone crash, and it had nothing to do with Matt.
It's true. On the our little workplace accidents thing, it says drone crashes, and we haven't had one in 346 days.
Yeah.
So inside,
thank goodness.
It's really, really, really awesome.
And never Matt. Quality drone.
It's true.
pilot.
Matt has never crashed his drone inside it. It was another entity that crashed the drone. That was a really fun day too.
Yeah.
That was a really great moment. I liked it.
You were there for
I
that.
was there for that. Yes, I was in the video. Even if you can't tell, it's me because it looks like I'm wearing Corey's jacket.
Right. Because I don't remember the exact circumstances there. I think we had to have
We're on the last line. I remember that one.
40 or so people here.
Yeah, we're doing a
They'd
shoot
switch.
for,
They'd be
I
like
don't remember.
switch, and you'd move over a line
To make it look
And
like
one
the
time I
arcade
got
was
the wrong
full
game. I
at
was
1
like,
p.m. when we weren't even open.
Correct.
On a weekday. And so, we had 40 people come, and they were just shift games. They'd be like, all right, everyone go to the next line. So it appeared full. And
I just want the video.
They had an inside drone flying, and then I was in the back, trying to finish up some work or something, and all of a sudden you hear like boom, and like someone screams, and I ran out of there, and I was like, was that the drone? And they're like, yeah, it crashed. And I was
It
like,
was really
oh,
cool.
no.
It crashed like right by me. I was like, oh my goodness.
That's
It was
exciting.
That's exciting.
It's so distracting trying to play those games and pretend that you don't have a giant drone like blowing a fan
just
right
wait?
above your head.
Drones
You
are not
skipped,
quiet.
Like the thing that I'm most proud of right
Oh,
now,
what's
because
that?
it nearly killed me in terms of like what I do.
Oh.
Like, and this isn't even actually my job.
Oh, the decorating?
But decorating.
Okay.
So
Oh,
like,
gotcha.
yes. So
So
Julie
this is you.
used to.
So
I'd like to say that it is almost entirely. I don't want to take all the credit because So what happened is Julie,
our old administrative assistant,
who we just loved and was amazing, and we miss you, Julie. She used to do all the decorating, but the most arcades she got to were 2.
right? We only had 2.
And then we opened a 3rd one, and just right before Halloween season, Julie left.
right, she moved to the Pacific Northwest to pursue some sort of.
Well, to follow her husband, and she was supporting her husband in pursuing his dream. So, like, cool. Although we missed her terribly.
Yes.
So Stephanie has taken over, and Stephanie is awesome. But I was like, there's no way that I'm just gonna like be like, here you go. And
you
to
go,
make matters
Stephanie.
worse,
Right.
she actually sprained her ankle like
Right.
immediately after starting,
In
and
so, yeah,
Halloween involves getting up on a ladder and like doing all sorts of stuff. So I was like, no, I'm gonna help with this. And Halloween went okay, like that was cool, we did it. But Christmas, Corey was like, we gotta go big. And I'm into that because I love Christmas. I grew up in like a Christmas household, but it was like 7 or 8 days of decorating the 3 arcades straight,
yeah.
like all day, like me getting home completely exhausted. And that was like with Stephanie doing it, and like we had to do all the shopping because Denton had no decorations. I don't know if anybody's seen Richardson, but it's pretty cool, that Michael Jackson.
Yeah, the
Yeah, I dig the Chevy Chase scaring
I
the
know,
bartender.
it's just like
The
popping
hidden
out, all of
one.
a sudden you're like, oh my goodness.
There's nothing better than watching a bartender turn the corner and just freak out because Chevy Chase is right there with the present.
I really like that too, and I don't know if anybody has noticed, but there is a Mr. T Cabbage Patch doll up there, and that is something Corey's great grandmother made, like
Yeah, so
long
if
before.
you go look, there was no such thing as a Mr. T Cabbage Patch, but apparently she really liked Mr. T during A-Team, and so yeah, she got a Cabbage Patch and she made a Mr. T Cabbage Patch, and it's really good. It's really
amazing.
accurate.
Like she took out the hair, so it's just like the
mohawk
He's got
and
his
everything,
like
yeah. It's
vest on and stuff like that, and his bling. She like sewed that too. It's amazing, and we finally found a home for it.
Right.
Free play
and
Christmas.
we're pulling from that famous Mr. T.
I feel like that should
during
be
the
like-
Reagan White House.
I feel like that should be like on Sterling's bio. Like
Right.
that his great grandmother made a Mr. T Cabbage Patch
Right.
doll.
See, but that's the thing. The reason
Also
it's a free
lost
play
it.
is he didn't appreciate
He
it.
didn't
He
really
used to
like
live
it
in
as
his
much.
room, and he was like, I don't get it.
He doesn't understand.
So I was like, you can't have it then if you don't get it. So now it lives at free
Well,
play.
what's really great is how I have like, probably at that level, my great grandma probably had like 60, because she had 7 or 8 kids, and then all of her kids had a ton of kids. So there were like dozens and dozens and dozens of great grandchildren, and I got it because no one else was interested in it. Like even then, I knew the '80s were awesome, and so I got that Mr. T Cabbage Patch doll, which is now like one of my prized possessions because it's so cool. But yeah, so Kelsie, she took over.
How many episodes of the cartoon have you watched?
I don't know, a lot. I mean,
Back in the day, there was no YouTube, and I desperately wanted to watch Mr. T. I think it was Mr. T Adventures or something like that.
something like.
the Adventures of the A-Team, right? Like, or no?
Well, no,
Okay,
not-
so
not
the A-Team was
Oh, no, that was
the
different?
TV series
Not the
that he
TV
started live
series.
action. Yeah,
I can't
Mr. T
remember.
had his own cartoon Saturday morning cartoon series as well.
Oh.
Yeah, and it
Wow.
was like I can't remember how they did it, but it was. I think technically, the A-Team owned his persona, so there's a licensing agreement between A-Team and the Mr. T Adventures or whatever they called it. And so, like at the end of it, they'd always make a connection to the real live show, which I think actually it ended a couple of years before. But, anyways, really cool. I mean, that's the thing. I loved 80s. I mean, you know what's really great is I loved like 50s and 60s stuff when I was a kid. Like I've always been like nostalgia. I just love the idea of nostalgia so much that I've always been into older stuff. So which has served me well so far, given that we're sitting in one of our arcades filled with old arcades. So all right, you like being a corporate liaison more than you like being an attorney. Is that true?
Yes. I like I'm a really logical, practical person, so I like that aspect of being an attorney. But I don't like the adversarial part of it. Like,
Right.
I want everyone
So-
to get along and find like a great path. And that's not really like when you're a lawyer, you're representing one side. And it's not really necessarily about to make it work for everybody. It's about to make it work the best for your client. Even if maybe your client is like the parent of a child and you're against the other parent and stuff like that. What's in that kid's best interest isn't really your job. It's what the parent wants the most. What's in their best interest. And I don't like that. Yeah. It's not my thing.
What's really cool is now I have someone that I can just pawn all of my duties onto, and I can go be an attorney again. So I'm really pumped. Okay. I'm really pumped. Kelsey's the new CEO. Now, I'm out. Peace.
Oh, gosh.
Now the firm of Hayden. Right. That's it.
There is nothing, though, that beats, like, I mean, I love my husband, obviously. I love my brother. Oh, my goodness. He's like,
Yeah, but
my fame. And I get to see them every day.
He was on the podcast earlier.
Being able to work with family every day is really cool.
And sometimes it's weird because sometimes it's like we see each other in passing and I'm like, Richard, here's a huge list of stuff I need from you. And I'm like, bye. So, you gotta go do stuff. And that's hard, but like, it's still.
What's really interesting is right now Free Play employs my wife. My brother-in-law is my partner, and he's an employee of Free Play. We also employ my mother. We employ my father-ish.
Yeah.
Basically anyone, I'm just like, I don't care, come work. And so it's a good, easy way to keep all your family around. If you hire all of them.
Well, I've been there since day zero as a customer for a year of it, and I always had these interactions with you. So I have like great memories of having long conversations with Richard in the arcade, which is something that I don't really think you can have very often at Free Play Arcade because he's so busy.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You can see him in passing all over the place, but like you don't really see that. And now I get to talk to you guys on the podcast. And I get people coming up to me that are podcast fans, our fans.
Yeah, no, that's what's really cool is as we've kind of started to, especially over the last few months, hit kind of a new level of viewership and a new level of people that are interested in what we're doing.
Yeah, but that level of interaction that we've always had, like you said, it's you guys are all family, and it feels that way. So
that's what I love about this company, though. Like, I love the people that work here. Like, we try hard to hire people that really like fit with what we do, but I don't want to be like weird because like employers being all like their family. Like sometimes that like covers all manner of sins, right? But like I think that our employees are the best. Like I love them. I think it's so cool that everyone's like unique in their own person. And not only that, I can talk to anyone and be like, go to our place. I know you're gonna have a good time. Go see our bar. They're brilliant. They're gonna help you find a drink that you love. Like I have confidence in them that when I tell people to come here, they'll have a good time and be taken care of. They will be. And I've never had, I've had my next door neighbor came to me a while back and was like, my company had a party at your arcade. It was amazing. And that happens like with some frequency. Somebody I know, like our son started kindergarten and like the people there emailed me and they were like, OMG, do you guys own Free Play? Because like, they were so excited. I love that. That's so amazing.
What's really terrible about it, though, is, and I'm not saying this like as a brag, but it's ruined other bars for me.
Definitely,
like
it has.
Kelsie and I cannot go out to another bar because we have such extreme high expectations for like beer, cocktails, and like just general service. But
it happened without
especially
even realizing
beer.
it, though. Like I did not realize how poor a beer selection most places have.
Well, it's really great because Kelsie, who I would never classify as a beer snob, is now out at other places, and she's just like, oh, this is the selection. Like it's really funny, but it's true. Like we've really ruined other bars for me.
Ruined other arcades for me.
Yeah.
I went to a place the other day that served me kind of like a lukewarmish beer, and this is supposed to be like a popular place to go.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is gross. So I moved to the next one, and it was clearly off an old keg, and it was something that I had it on a fresh keg like a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, oh, what's going on? Like everything is horrible here. And honestly, my favorite beers are sours, and you don't see them everywhere. And I don't know. I'm really spoiled.
Right. No, it's really hard because, yeah, you'll walk into a Free Play and you'll be like, hey, what's new? And there's 20 new beers. And they know exactly, all the bartenders know exactly what's to what palate and everything.
Well, and can I just say, like, right now what I'm drinking is Finn River, like the best cider in the world.
Oh, yeah. So Finn River Lavender Blackcurrant is probably not only our best-selling cider, but probably one of the best in the entire world. It's one, I mean, we're not the ones that, I think that's true, but we're not the only ones saying that. It's won just about every major cider award that exists to the extent that there are cider awards. It's got people ripping it off left and right, trying to capture that magic.
Well, and what you can see about it, like, I mean, this is made by PhD botanists.
Right, it really
And
is.
they grow all the ingredients that go into this on their
Well,
own land.
To be fair, I believe the lavender is wild sourced, so it actually grows by itself. So then they go harvest it out on their property, or
enough.
something like that.
The point is, like, more effort goes into this than like almost anything else you're going to drink. And it's amazing. And I tell all of our bartenders about it, and I tell everyone I meet about it, and no one has ever been disappointed.
Yeah.
It would be really difficult
Free
to.
Play Denton has sold something like, now Free Play Denton's only been open a few months, but they've done like 20 kegs. They've blown through 20 kegs of that cider.
I have gotten a growler for the lady. Once I try to jump around the board, but yeah, we've been
It's
spoiled
hard,
by
right?
it as well.
Yeah, once you start, and especially that the kegs in Denton, because they get them ultra fresh. They're not. I mean, the bottle tastes amazing.
The bottle is amazing, but it's true.
The keg is like a
the
whole
keg is-
nother.
yeah.
And so it's a recent. It hasn't been available in kegs forever in Texas, and now that it is, we've been. Well, we can't even keep it on stock. It sells so fast. It's really amazing. All right, so let's get back. I mean, I love Finn River. Those guys watch our podcast.
Okay.
They're
I gotta-
we'll get.
I gotta talk about being spoiled by cider though. Allison, she is angry at me. I need to schedule a Tuesday night fight before our 4th year anniversary party when she goes to Dickens on the Strand, so that I go to Free Play Denton and come back with a growler of cider. She needed to go back to Galveston with a growler of cider from Free Play Denton.
Yeah, she
I
does.
can't blame her.
Yeah.
Free Play Denton is the best place to get fresh cider out of a keg. I think just in the
Every single
entire
time I
world.
go there, I leave with a growler of cider. I have 5 growlers now.
All right, so Kelsie, we're here. It's Last Christmas 2, Christmas Hard. What's your favorite event that you've been to at Free Play? Any Free Play, just pick your favorite event.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Like there've been a lot of great events, a lot of great performances.
Putting me on the spot there.
But yeah, so this is my
had
only
the
chance
most
to
fun.
be in it. I mean, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, it might not even be the best event. It's
Okay,
whatever
you
you
know
connected
what?
to the
so
most.
This is actually not. It wasn't a Free Play though. It was a Free Play event.
Okay,
It
which
was
one?
Very recently, I really enjoyed the National Video Game Museum James Bond.
The Bond night.
That
I
was
know.
really
you know?
fun for
Everybody
me.
dressing up.
Yeah.
Everyone was dressing up, but also like a lot of our employees came and they had a good time, and
Yeah.
I love seeing that. Like, I will not. I mean, I don't want to embarrass Derek, but
His fake gambling addiction.
so yeah, he has like a real problem because we had like fake, not fake, but like play for
Gambling for
fun,
tokens,
blackjack
right?
tables. Yeah, they were tokens, and Derek like could not tear himself away.
He just said, I want to be involved.
But we also had like an employees GoldenEye tournament, and as painful as that was, because it doesn't matter what tournament I play in, I'm gonna get massacred.
Right.
Like, it was really fun, and
But
everyone
when
had
we made
fun.
it slaps only.
Well, still, like, and that game was much worse than I remembered overall. But like, I just want to be there when people are having fun, and that was a great night because I wasn't tired. Sometimes we do these late night events, and I'm like, I wake up at 6, I'm falling asleep. Like, I did have fun at Last Christmas last year though too. That
Yeah,
might be the
last-
second one because like my kids came and played in the snow, and that was fun. My son went around; he loves to play. The one you took out though.
Which
But-
one? Gauntlet. I know.
Gauntlet.
Don't
He
worry.
loves to-
It's coming back. Gauntlet is coming back.
That is literally the second
Next-
time it's been mentioned on this
Yeah,
podcast.
don't worry. We're
Okay,
bringing
so
it
I guess
back.
I have to give you some feedback that there is
Yeah.
multiple people on
Ne-
the podcast upset about Gauntlet Legends.
It's coming
leaving
back though.
Trip
Like, that's
Arlington.
the short story there.
Next
is that.
rotation, I'm bringing it back because everyone decided that that's now their favorite game, no matter what. And it's a great game. We just rotated it because there were 2 4-player games on
So,
the cutting block.
The,
And
the
chopping
aforementioned
block.
National Video Game Museum Bond Night, though, you can see the video of that on our YouTube page.
That's true. Yeah, there's a cool little recap video. That was a really fun night. It was kind of because what was really interesting about that is
Check out Corey's suit that night.
right. That was in the middle of November. And what we learned is that it doesn't really matter how cool it is. November's a hard time to program. I mean, we still had an awesome 120, 130 people show up. But what it meant was it was a far more intimate National Video Game Museum experience.
Everybody dressed up.
Everybody. Everyone dressed up.
I
and
thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to dress up really nice. I'm going to get a new suit for
no
this.
one else will do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
everybody
dressed.
did.
It was
Evening
so cool.
gowns, everything. They
Arthur
looked
bought a
great.
tux.
Yeah.
He has one in the bank now.
It was,
Every
well,
month.
I mean, Kelsie were in an evening gown.
Yes, I
of
did.
course-
I've never worn one at an appropriate time. But
I, of course,
that
wore
was
my
the time.
finest suit for that event. It was a good one. So, yeah, that was really great. We got another, in the next couple weeks, we're going to be announcing our next National Video Museum event. This one will be, hard sold out. So, if you're watching this, it's coming in, I think, March. It's going to be a crazy, insane blowout event. It will sell out. March is going to be totally different. So, prepare yourself these events are really cool that we do at the National Video Game Museum. We do it just to benefit them. Where we try to bankroll things. We try to give them logistical support, make them have really, really cool events. So,
and it's a really cool venue for an event. It's a great venue for an event. It's awesome to like do what there is to do, but also to like stand aside and have a great conversation with somebody. Like,
well, and of course,
I've been to the last two, and I've had a really great time at both.
Yeah, I
think
thumbs
up. And I'm kind of like hard to please, so like if I had fun.
I think most attendees would say that. All right, so Chris, I don't know if you've ever done this. What's your favorite events, free play events? You've been to a bunch as a customer. You've also been to a bunch as an employee. So
yeah,
and it's a different experience each time.
And yeah, it's different. And I have a lot of favorites, but I guess what's striking out in my mind is that the first anniversary party where I first heard Calling Jack Burton, the band playing tonight. Yeah. Just that experience. I remember Sarah was dancing with me initially to Calling Jack Burton, and then she took Julie off the dance floor and was dancing with her. Just playing the games with the same 80s music that we had, but live. It was really a great feeling.
Well, and that was really cool because we hadn't really ever maxed Richardson out, and this time we were trying to make sure that everyone had plenty of time to play the game. So we undersold. I think we only sold like 120, 130 tickets to it. So it was like awesome, kind of intimate, but also a blowout event with the best, our favorite at least 80s cover band. And we've dealt with a lot of awesome bands, but there's just really something special about Calling Jack Burton, the way they kind of capture our soundtrack.
Another one was the free play Arlington grand opening.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts.
Who was the band? Was that
oh geez,
Hall & Oates band?
Yeah, it was the Hall & Oates Rich Girls.
Rich Girls killed it. And then that was DJ Terminator Mike B's first ever set. And
first ever free play event.
We had signs and fat heads, and like we were so ready for that.
And we had about 1,000 people stop by throughout that day.
Yeah.
And it was a madhouse. If I went back, I would have scheduled the Rich Girls to come on a little later. Mm-hmm. It felt a little bright outside because it was the summer, and I think their set started at 7 or 6, and it was still really bright.
I remember seeing. It was Nate's first time at the arcade. The Street Fighter 3-button world champion,
right?
Nate, who could not defend his title at Clay Fighter today at the last Christmas too. Yeah, he was there. It was his first trip ever to free play. It was the free play Arlington grand opening, and like 2 weeks later, I saw on his Facebook he had gone through, because we streamed Super Turbo the entire night. He had gone back and said he didn't remember ever smiling that much, and had like a montage of like 20 gigantic like DJ from the ST-esque grins on his face throughout the stream, where he's playing the game he loves,
all the time, right?
And yeah, there's 1,000 people here, and it's just the time of his life.
No, that was really cool. I mean, the Rich Girls killed it. I wish they would have told us beforehand that they were probably the best Prince cover band that exists. I've never heard anyone that good. Uh-huh. So yeah, they were really great. And I mean, that was a cool event. I mean, really, really neat way to introduce Arlington to this arcade. So, all right. Corporate liaison, Kelsie Hayden. Do you have any, like, exiting words? Do you want to say anything about how awesome free play is?
Well, okay, so kind of about the event question.
Yeah.
Like, what I just like to say is my favorite times in free play are not the days of the events, although those are amazing. I totally love them, and we do so much cool stuff. The best times for me are when I blow through and there's a good amount of people there and everyone's just having a good time playing games. Like, we go by free play Richardson Thursdays, Fridays, whatever day.
I call it the Thursday night vibe, because Thursday nights at most of our locations, especially as we get into our season, which just started about 2 Thursdays ago, you walk in, there's about 70, 80 people in Richardson, maybe 130 here. It's busy, but not too busy. There's plenty of open games.
Well, and everyone's having a good time. Like, they're friendly.
Really,
like, you
really
might not
good.
know people, but, like, you strike up a conversation. Like, I remember the day you put Super Turbo out at Richardson.
You mean on Blast City? Or
Blast City, yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yes.
And that was so cool because, like, everyone was really excited and had to get over there and check it out. But we went by later. And it was so cool because we had a customer who had their kids there and they were playing, and I walked by and they were having a good time, and a while later one of the kids was gone, and like Carlos from the kitchen was there playing with the kid, and I walked by later, and it's like such a cool community thing happening there. Like, I love seeing some, like, our staff or just customers playing with these kids, and like bring up their love for these games. Like my son comes sometimes when he's not in school or something like that, and I think that most of our employees have played at least some Gauntlet with him because he'll sit there all day. And it doesn't really matter who's walking by, he'll start talking to them about the game and like pull them in, and it's just really cool. It feels like a place you want to be, just hanging out for hours at a time, and that's so cool. That's our place. Like every day we work to make that happen, and it's just
I feel like that's
amazing.
part of my job, and that's why I have the greatest job. That's why if I won the lottery, I would continue working here.
Right.
Because like it's the greatest job ever. Part of my job is showing kids who are behind me marveling at Christmas Sagat, laughing ho 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 in the background. Showing them how to throw fireballs. It's amazing.
No, it's a special place. All right, so that about wraps up this awesome podcast. Thank you, Kelsie, for sitting in. We are live here at Last Christmas 2, Christmas Harder. We might be recording a couple more podcasts, who knows? But until next time, make sure you click subscribe. Wherever you're listening to, I'm sure you can hit subscribe, get more of this awesome content.
Sorry about Armageddon.
Yeah,
See you guys at Last Christmas 3.
We probably have to record some more podcasts just because it's our last chance.
Right.
So,
We're having Matt record them, send them to the past so that they can enjoy them.
That's what's
back when the
important.
world was a thing, which it is not now.
Not at all. It does not exist. If you're listening to this, we'll see y'all next time, or not. I don't know. Bye guys.